I would suggest everybody who has about $300 to $400 of money that they can spend towards studio equipment to buy a reference sub. The mix problem that I hear most often, not just with this group, with everybody, is the low end. It's always the low end or the low mids. And if you don't have the money to buy the reference sub, then do the research and get some really nice headphones. I mean, you can get the headphones I have aren't that expensive. They're the Sennheiser HD280 Pros. It's kind of a mixing standard, but it will tell you whether or not your drum is punching. Because like that last one, it's the same deal. And I think I've said it 3 times today, that kick that has all of that tail and all of that crunch and all that this and that. I mean, VU meters are cool. Meters are cool. Everything is cool. They're just not going to tell you how to make a beat that sounds good. Right. You know what I'm saying? They're going to give you data on loudness. They're going to give you data on RMS, but a beat with perfect RMS might not hit the way you want it. So I would suggest really focusing on that low end and focusing on the sound selection for that low end. And when you listen to your favorite beats, whether they're contemporary, whether they're old school, just listen to how that low end is sitting in the mix. Listen to the types of sounds they're using and really try to bring that mix sensibility into your own mixes, because that's just such an important path to growth.
Yeah.
You don't have to do it by yourself. I mean, look, think of all the music that came before you as a room full of friends, because they're always there. All that music is there for you, and it's a great study tool. And it's the best study tool because you're not just listening to music and getting ideas from the music. You're training your ear because you're listening for a specific purpose. And the second you start listening to these tracks and asking yourself these questions and having this conversation in your head, thinking, why do I love this beat so much? I'm going to go deeper than asking myself why I love this beat so much. Why does the kick sound so good? Mm-hmm. How does the kick sound so good? What kind of kick is it? Do I have that kind of kick? Oh, I don't? Well, then I better go find it. Oh, I do? Okay, let me listen through, and I'm going to start incorporating that kick into my beats. Why does the bass sound so good with the kick? Oh, I'm not sure. Maybe I should check a YouTube tutorial on how to mix my sub bass to my kicks. There are tons, and they're really, really, really helpful, and they're all free. So this is what I mean about focused listening. And guess what happens after you do this several times? You don't have to go through that whole process again. Now it's hardwired into your brain. So the next time you make a beat from scratch, you know exactly the sound that you want. You know how to accomplish it.
Yep. And look, like using all the tools in the world, right? Like I'm pretty sure when I make a beat, I don't even really look at the levels. Like I don't look at a VU meter. I don't pay attention to any of that shit. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I've been doing this for a long time. I use my ears. And at the end of the day, your ears are going to tell you what feels good and what doesn't feel good. And that's all music is at the end of the day. So don't get like discouraged. Don't get too caught up in focusing on what tools you should use to make no, focus on training your ears. Like I cannot emphasize enough how important that is, because that is literally the only, the reason why Dr. Dre is Dr. Dre is because his ability to hear what sounds good is what makes him an incredible fucking producer. It's not necessarily that he's more talented or knows how to play instruments. It's all like how he hears things, right? And so one thing that I did early on in my career for the first couple years when I first started making beats, I literally tried to make all my beats sound like Dr. Dre, and I would line it up with his. like play mine and then play his and then go back to mine. And I would listen and compare. And of course it was like night and day. Like my shit sounded way fucking worse. Even though I tried to play exactly how he played them, it just didn't sound the same, you know? And the difference is how he knows how to listen for things that affect the mix, that affect the feel, like how you play the keys. They could be the same notes, but the way he plays them isn't the same. You know, it gives you a different feel. So all of those things, and that literally just comes through your ears. So it's ear training at the end of the day. So even if you have to, man, like emulate what your favorite producers are making, like a carbon copy. Try to copy exactly what they're doing and see where you're falling short, and that'll tell you like what you need to work on, you know? But those are, and I hate to keep going back to this, but this is what Bob and I were talking about tonight. Like, he literally used to do the same things. He would, his biggest influence is Dr. Dre. So back in the day, he would like make beats exactly like Dre made his, and they just didn't sound the same. And he would do the same exact thing. And he still uses that to his advantage to this day. Like just the fact that he's trained his ears so much to listen to the tiniest little details. And that's what makes him great at doing what he does.
Yeah, you know the producer T Minus. So before he was T Minus, he had this record called Codefendant on Plies album, and I noticed that, and obviously they're collaborators, but him and Boy Wonder always had these crazy sounding kick drums that just were so clean, and they were some of the first producers that I heard swinging their hi-hats. They would take their hats and push them to the right. I don't know how they were doing it at the time. But it was one of those things that until you realized that that's what they were doing by listening really, really carefully to their drum programming,
right,
you wouldn't know, but you knew that there was something cool about the way they programmed their drums. But I remember just asking him, how did you get your drums, how did you get your kicks to hit that hard in that Plies record? And he was like, oh, you just, I don't know, man. I'm like, no, come on, man. You had to, you were side chaining. He goes, I don't even know what that is. I'm like, you were compressing then, right? No, I don't use effects. Oh, well, what the hell were you doing? He goes, just check your email. He sent me 3 separate drum sounds. One was a kick that had a lot of low end, one was a kick that had a lot of high end, and one was a sub. And I just put them together, and suddenly I realized, oh, all he did was find the perfect combination of kick drums that all hit at totally different frequencies, but that were complementary, and you put them together and you have a powerful kick that penetrates the mix exactly how I wanted it to. Nowadays, there are great drum kits that give you those sounds. DG makes some, Big White Beats makes some, so on and so forth. But you know, producers, it's so easy for us to get caught up in the gear wars, you know, and then ironically there are all those memes out there. It's the ear, not the gear. I mean, it sounds corny, but it's actually true. We most of your favorite producers aren't obsessing over a VU meter. They're just not.
It's true. Yeah, 100% true. All right, let's check out Cassandra's track.